Jason Ryan and from Hillview Farms. We originated down in Batlow, where we have a couple of farms down there where we grow a range of fruits and vegetables. We started back in about 2015, and the way we started down there, we had a massive volume of tomatoes at the time, cherry tomatoes that we were growing, and we decided that we'd go and do a farmer's market in Tumut one Friday afternoon. And we went in there, loaded up the car, went in there, and we sold out of everything at a very small local farmer's market. And we had enough money to buy, I think it was a carton of beer and a bottle of champagne. So we were pretty stoked with the first outing, and we came back to Sydney that following week, and I made contact with a few farmers markets around Sydney, and we started the following week selling through. I think we started with 2, and then that expanded out from there, weekly farmers markets. And as we did more of that, we saw the demand for more products. So we contacted a few of our neighbours and family around the traps who were also growing fruit and veg, and we started stocking their products as well. And yeah, things took off from there. We were doing, I think at one point we were doing 9 or 10 farmers markets per week. And then during that process, I started down the online sales path, which was gradually building and developing over the years. And then the first round of COVID hit, and things went ballistic at that point. We experienced over 600% growth at the maximum time of that. Things dropped back a bit from that. They dropped back to about half of that, which is still significantly over what we originally were. And we've managed to build a very solid foundation now with the online side of things. And once again, when COVID's hit this time, that's really expanded what we're doing on that front, and moved us into bigger premises in our warehouse in Sydney, which has opened up other opportunities as well, with doing our own farmers market that's open 6 days a week now, that we do all our packing for our home deliveries in the market, and we just allow the public to come in. It's a very safe environment, very COVID friendly, big open spaces, so it works pretty well. Our Sydney base is in Leichhardt, which is very, very convenient. It's sort of central to most of Sydney, so we service as far as Berowra, all the northern beaches, down south. We even go to sort of the edge of Wollongong, and then across to Camden, Penrith, the Blue Mountains, Windsor, Richmond, and all down that side, and yeah, right across to Hornsby, and then everywhere in between now. We source our produce from growers all over New South Wales and even further afield now, only in Australia though. All the products and the produce we supply are Australian grown and Australian made. So we source it from everywhere. We bring all that produce into our warehouse in Leichhardt. Some of that comes direct from farms. Some of it comes via the supply chain through Flemington markets. We use the infrastructure out there, so our farmers will be sending produce that they don't send to us. They'll be sending to the agents they sell through out at the markets, and we'll collect produce when it's delivered in there from the trucks direct and get it back to our warehouse in Leichhardt. And then we do all our own distribution now, all our own deliveries. So we bring it into the warehouse in Leichhardt, where we bring produce in pretty well 5 days a week. And then we do our packing for our online orders in the warehouse, store it all in there and send it. We generally pack the day before for next morning delivery. And then we send it out in our delivery vans each day, and that's pretty well it, and it's very much Groundhog Day. It's taken quite a while to get the system to a good working level. Lot of trial and error in it. I think there's been quite a few companies before us that have tried in this domain, and it's always been difficult. There's been a number of bigger ones that have failed over the years, but I think we're blessed in that COVID sort of given us that volume that we need to make it a viable thing. So yeah, we're blessed in that happened to us at that point, but we've worked very, very hard to get the system right at the same time. We couldn't have developed the online business without doing our point of sale stuff, without doing the farmers markets and promoting who we are and what we're about. So that was the key to initially getting a customer base, was doing the farmers markets, going out there, meeting the people, talking to them. We did a lot of tasting of our fruit, and we know our fruit tastes as good as anything there is. So that sort of drags people in. And then when you get the story across to them about where the produce is coming from, you pretty well grab a customer for a long term. So that's probably been key. And since then, just continuing on, letting our customers know what we're doing, what the farms are doing, and keeping them informed on the story behind the business and the people that are involved in it. A lot of social media, a lot of email promotion. So we'll do a weekly, depending on what time of the year it is, we'll do anywhere from 1 to 4 emails a week to our customer base, just letting them know when a new product comes on, or when something happens on one of the farms, or whatever the interest is at the time. Then our customer base love knowing what's going on and where the produce is coming from and the story behind it. So we're constantly trying to get that out there. It's one of my pet hates, the fact that the bigger corporations out there promote ugly fruit, misshaped fruit. Fruit, vegetables, they grow how they grow. The cost, from my perspective, the cost for farmers and for processors to separate the ugly fruit, or what they call the ugly fruit, from the perfectly aesthetic fruit, that process is a ridiculous cost that goes on to the grower. And basically they pull the ugly fruit out, throw it away, and then you're left with the good fruit. We bring our fruit and veg in bulk, so most of it will come in bulk bins that are picked on the farm. Comes to us that way. In our process of packing customers' boxes, if there's anything really bad, most of the time we'll capture it and put it into our compost piles, and then we take them back to the farm for composting. But 99.5% of our fruit and veg we use, and we don't pick out the good fruit, the fruit that doesn't have a little scratch on it. We send it all as it is. As I said, if there's a bad bruise or something, we'll separate it, but it comes in, we pack it into customers' boxes. They get it, they appreciate what they're getting, they understand what they're getting is how fruit and veg grows, and that's it. So we avoid that whole selling ugly fruit cheaper, selling the premium stuff more expensive, and we avoid incurring the processing cost in the middle as well. So that benefits everyone in the chain, from the grower to the retail customer. We are cutting out the agents, the processing, that side of things. So that means we're able to offer our produce at a very reasonable price to our customers, but we're also able to pay our producers and ourselves with what we grow more money than we would get if we're selling it through an agent, putting it through a processing plant and the like. Some of the things we do on smaller scale, so a farm might pick 2 or 3 bins of oranges, navel oranges at the moment. They'll deliver them into us. They'll come straight through. Then in Batlow, for instance, you've got the the co-op now, which is now privately owned. So we've had difficulty getting fruit through our normal growers down there because the co-op's now in charge of it. So we're working with some smaller ones, smaller producers as well as our own, and they're then having to negotiate with the processing plants to get their own fruit out of the plant and sell it to us directly, or sell it through us directly. So there are still difficulties in that area, but we're gradually developing systems where we're able to avoid that, putting stuff through those processing plants and storage plants. With meats, we've tried a few different models with our meats. We worked with butchers, source the meat through the farms. We run cattle and sheep on our own farms as well. So we've put meat through abattoirs for processing, and then butchers for the final process. That's worked. Some ways that works well, some ways it doesn't. At the moment, we're working with a larger wholesale producer. So we get to pick which meat we're getting, which farms it's coming from, and they do the processing and the packaging for us. It's not necessarily as pretty looking at meat as a retail product, but the quality of the meat is as good as or better than anything that you'll get through a retail product. So there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing, and we're still working through some of those processes to get the best fit for what we're trying to do. And the best fit generally is reducing the costs on the producer and the end. A lot of our brassicas, like leaves, cabbage leaves, cauliflower leaves, and that, where there's no chemicals used on them, they'll go back to be fed to the cattle. They helped us throughout the drought. That helped us significantly. Same with a lot of the waste from the apple side of things, that will go to cattle feed or to pig feed. And what we're not able to use in those streams, we compost and use it back on the farms. At the moment, we're doing everything under the Hillview brand. We want to promote more of the direct farmers ourselves, and we do a lot of that with face-to-face communication with customers. But the problem we have that is the big operators out there, if we start promoting a brand or a farm or a product, we see it time and time again. The big players out there will come along and try and sweep them out from under our feet. So we try to keep it very tight at the moment where our supplies are coming from. We're not at a size where we can lock farms or suppliers into complete supply to us. So we're trying to be very careful on that front. But we do see that time and time again. I only had a conversation with a new supplier this morning of some products that we've been promoting them for, I think, about 2 weeks now, and they've already been approached by one of the bigger chains. So that's a very sits uneasy with me, but it's something we've got to manage closely. Most stuff we like to do on a handshake, just because it's an old school way of doing things and it's the simplest, and most of the farmers we have are of the same mentality as us on that. I'm sure as we grow, as we get bigger, we're going to have to formalise that more. We will. I've sort of started with a few confidentiality agreements and that type of thing, and we'll have to develop a proper supply, legally based supply agreement down the track. Simply, I've got to go back to face-to-face marketing at the markets. That's how we got. It's all about volume and size to be viable in this, particularly in a city like Sydney where it's so expensive to do anything. So I've got to go back to our face-to-face marketing at the farmers markets, getting us to that size and then the help we've had with the unfortunate circumstances around COVID. Logistics in Sydney is definitely one of the biggest and most difficult things. Once again, we've tried numerous different methods over the years. We've used subcontractors, which always ends in tears. We've used direct contractors, but we're back to employees now in bands. We use a pretty good routing software that includes messaging to our customers and notifications and live tracking. So as the technology improves on that front, we keep upgrading our system. So that's probably been the biggest blessing. The last sort of 12 months, there's been more and more players come into that field supplying software for that last mile delivery. So we've really capitalised on that, and that's what's made things so much smoother in this latest increase because of the lockdowns. Social media, we do a lot of marketing on social media, and we see a lot of other companies that market on social media. We will see something that we like and we will contact the producer. And likewise, not a day goes by where we're not getting contacted by smaller upcoming producers that are looking for an avenue, and they'll contact us. We'll go through the process of looking at their products, seeing if it's a fit with us, and onboarding them. And it's a very quick process. It's literally a 3-hour process to onboard someone and get their products online. And everything we sell at our point of sale is everything that we sell online as well. So it's we've got a pretty good system for that now. So our main customers are straight up retail customers. The main benefit is the much closer connection to the farmer, to the producer, to the manufacturer. And we like to think that we offer a pretty good service in an area that's evolving very, very rapidly. And as I mentioned earlier, it's in an area that so many have not had too much success with trying to get into. So we have a 3-day turnaround in our deliveries, and we do that for the purpose of the farms being able to pick to order. So we avoid a lot of wastage going back to that. But that ensures the customer's getting the freshest possible product, and the benefit at the moment of not having to go out and fight queues and lines at supermarkets and the like. I don't think there's a customer that we have that doesn't know our story and doesn't know where our farms are, how we produce it. And I could honestly say that probably over the years, probably 50% of our customers we've met face to face, and that is in the tens of thousands, once again through doing the farmers markets. And we're constantly on the floor in the warehouse, so anyone that comes in, we always have a chat with. And so the provenance and customers knowing us and knowing the story behind us, and we do share, as I said, when it's face to face, we share with the customers stories about the farmers and where the product's coming from. We also do at our markets from time to time. We'll have some of the growers and producers in there as well, talking to customers. So that's a constant thing as well. So yeah, big percentage of our customers, the story behind where something has come from, whether it's a manufactured product or a grown product, is extremely important. Using the model, using what we're doing, we can bring in supplies from someone who's growing 10 kilograms of blueberries, or we can bring in supply of someone growing 10 tons of blueberries. So being able to have people start on a small scale and get a gradual income coming in, and then gradually grow that income with us, that is the key to having smaller producers starting to produce and being able to have the outlet and the confidence that the more they produce, the more they can make and the more they can sell. The more we can collaborate and the more we can get the story out of each of the individual farms, the better it is for all of us. But we have to tread very carefully at the moment with the potential issues I mentioned before, with larger retailers out there trying to swoop in and put a stop to us. So hopefully we will get to a point where our size is big enough that we can start locking in suppliers for longer term contracts and bigger contracts. So when we get to that point, then the story of the individual ones will be far more in the public's eye.